Hey guys, Aaron here with another fountain pen review today. And today I was wanting to review a Japanese fountain pen and made by obviously a very well known pen company. And that pen that you see in front of you is the Pilot Custom 74. Now, this pen I've owned now for quite some time, and it has been one of my daily writers. It's a pen that I have used quite significantly over the past couple years, and a pen that I enjoy a lot. I did acquire this pen from a Japanese retailer, which allowed me to acquire it at a little bit lesser price point than you would get if you were to buy it from an American retailer. I paid $79 for the pen total with free shipping. Now, one thing that when you purchase a pen in that form or fashion, as most of us know that purchase pens from overseas, especially the Chinese fountain pens, you are going to have to wait a while. For this pen in particular, I think I waited 3 weeks in total from the time I purchased the pen till the time it hit my front door. So that is something to bear in mind when you're purchasing a pen like that. While yes, you are going to be paying less, you are going to have to wait though for a longer period of time. Now, if you're okay with that, then this could definitely be a great way for you to acquire one of these pens. The other good thing about it is I paid $79 for this pen, and it has a 14 karat gold nib. So it's again another really a cool thing. I have many other pens that have 14 karat gold nibs that probably don't even write quite as good as this pen, that have, I would say, similar type material. Some of them may be more attractive, but I've paid almost twice as much for those pens. I was going to show the packaging just real quick, just so you guys can kind of see it. This is the pen coffin that the pen comes in. Now, it does have an outer papered or cardboard sleeve. The top just pops open to reveal some of the Pilot marketing materials. This was, of course, the little piece that was attached to the clip. And there says SF there for soft fine. Once you've got your pen bed here, once you pop open your pen bed, you'll see you've got some additional packing material. You've also got some of your warranty information, as well as different cards as far as care and maintenance cards. And then you've got your cartridge right there. It does come with a single cartridge. Now, my pen, and if I'm not mistaken, I think most of these pens, when you purchase them, they do not come with a converter. And mine was no exception. It did not actually come with a converter. So I did have to purchase that separately. Pilot pens you're not able to use standard international converters. They are their own proprietary converters and cartridges for that matter. So that is something to bear in mind when you are purchasing one of these pens. If you're someone that likes to change out inks a lot, you will have to purchase a converter for the pen. So that will be an additional charge. Now, you can shop around. Their converters are not super inexpensive, but I think if you're smart and you shop around, you can find one for a relatively good cost. They do have them in 3 different sizes. This pen can take all 3 sizes of converters. They have a Con 20, a Con 50, and a Con 70. I have a Con 70 converter in here. I do own the other 2 converters, but I like the fact the Con 70 obviously has the highest ink capacity, so it definitely lasts a lot longer. The Con 20 converter, I think I have in a Pilot 78G, and I don't really care for that converter very much. So now the pen. This is just your standard black resin. You've got obviously your gold trim. This pen is offered in several other types of materials. It does have some transparent pens, such as a clear transparent. I know there's a blue one. I think there's even some other colors out there. Those are going to be more expensive. They obviously do come with gold nibs as well, but you're going to be looking in the range of $140, $160 on most of those pins. As far as the body of the pin, you'll notice down here at the bottom, the barrel straight, and then it tapers right here. Your standard cigar shaped pin. You've got one band right here down at the end of the barrel. And then moving up to the cap, you've got actually two bands, a small one and then a larger one down below that states Custom 74. You've got a star here, and then you've also got a star on this side. And then you see Pilot Made in Japan on the back. You've got your standard Pilot clip here with the ball on the end. Some people love this clip, some people do not. It is very stiff. This is a very stiff clip. However, the ball makes it to where it slides in and out of a pocket very easily. So it definitely works well. Moving up to the top of the cap, you'll notice again it rounds off, and then you've got your cap band up at the top as well. Again, a gold trim. To take off the cap, if I'm not mistaken, it's 1.5 turns, which it is. Reveals that section and nib. This section, your barrel threads here, they're not sharp at all. I actually usually when I hold this pen, I hold right on the barrel threads, and I do not notice them at all. You notice you've got your metal ring right here that is actually all one piece. This is not remove. Your section tapers down just slightly and then flares back out at the end, and then your nib. So again, this is a 14 karat gold nib. This is a number 5 nib on Pilot scale. And you'll see some of that scroll work there. And you'll see SF for soft fine. And then flipping it over, you see that Pilot feed. Like most Pilot pins, they kind of have their proprietary feeds. This is definitely one of the smaller gold nibs. I have a custom 823 that has a number 15 size nib that I can use for a sizing comparison, so you can kind of see the differences in nib sizes. Taking off the barrel, you'll see again you have metal pieces, a metal piece here. And then this reveals the actual converter. Now, the cool thing about the Con 70 converter, this is a push converter, so it fills relatively quickly and easily. I just did a quick fill with this pen a few minutes ago because it's completely empty of ink. I used up all the ink inside of it. But this converter works very well. It's my favorite converter that Pilot makes, and it definitely works very, very well. So real quickly, I'm going to do a sizing comparison, and then we will do a writing sample so you guys can see the business end of the pen and see how that performs. I'll be back in just one moment. All right, guys, and I'm back. So real quick, so you can see some of the sizing comparison. So from bottom here, we have the Pilot Custom 74, and then you have your Pilot Metropolitan and a Pilot 78G. And you'll notice that the Custom 74 has both of these pens beat in overall length when capped. Now, as far as being uncapped, again, you'll notice that the Custom 74 is a little bit longer. The Metropolitan is pretty close to the same size, while the 78G is the shortest of the 3 pins. Now, as far as posting, again, you'll notice that the Custom 74 is the longest of the 3. The Metropolitan being the second, and then the 78G fairly close to the Metropolitan. The other thing I like about this pen is when you post it, it's not a very heavy pen. The metal back here is not heavy, and it definitely, I think, weights nicely. I actually like this one posted better than the Metropolitan. Up next, I am going to compare it to one last pen just so you guys can see the nib, and that is the Custom 823. All right, so here you guys can see the two nibs next to each other. So on the top, you have your Custom 823 nib, which is a number 15 size nib. And down below, you have your Custom 74, which is a number 5 size nib. So you can kind of see the differences in sizing. The nib itself is predominantly very similar as far as the scroll work and everything else on it. Zoom out just a little bit. So there's your number 15 size nib. Put them side by side with each other so you can see the differences. So a very large difference between the two nibs. You have a soft fine with the Custom 74 and then a medium with the 823. So up next, guys, I'm going to do a writing sample. And then at the end, we will talk about what I like and dislike about the fountain pen. All right, guys, we are back. And as I stated before, this is the Pilot Custom 74. The ink that I'm using is Iroshizuku Yamabudo. I like that ink very much. And a quick writing sample. Oh, God. So one thing to note, obviously a Japanese fine is probably more like a Western extra fine, or a Japanese medium is more like a Western fine. So Pilot nibs are very true to that. I would definitely say that they are finer than a normal Western fine. So if you've watched any review of a Japanese pen and you've heard the reviewer say that, or you personally own one, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, one cool thing about this pen, though, is even though it is definitely writes with a much finer line, it is not toothy at all. It definitely gives some feedback, but it is kind of hard to explain. It's a very gratifying type feedback. I wouldn't necessarily even say it's a pencil-y feedback like what you would get with a Sailor nib. It just feels nice. Now, this is a fine nib, and I really, really enjoy this nib. For instance, you can definitely get some line variation out of it. So it's a pen that I really, really enjoy writing with. It's a good pen that you can use as a workhorse pen, but it's also a pen that you can do all sorts of things with. So it's really, as far as the writing experience, it's one of my favorite pens. I was a little hesitant to get a fine nib because I've got my Metropolitan was my first Pilot fountain pen I ever owned, and it is a fine nib, and I wasn't super crazy about it. So So when I got this one, I kind of got it based off of a recommendation, and I was going back and forth between a soft medium and a soft fine, and I went with this one because I thought, okay, if I'm doing any type of flex riding or anything like that, I can get a really nice fine line and then really push it a little bit more to get a much broader stroke. So that's why I went with this pen, and I do not regret buying this pen. Now, as far as what I like about the pen and what I don't like about it. So what I do like about the pen is I love the nib. I love pilot nibs in general. I really enjoy riding with. This one is no exception. I enjoy this pen a great deal. It is a pen that is almost constantly inked up that I reach for quite consistently. What I don't like about it. For me, when I first initially got it, would be the fact that it didn't come with a converter and the fact that I had to purchase that separately, and that Pilot only uses their own proprietary converters. Now I learned to get over that. I've since bought a Sailor Pro Gear, and I'm looking at making some other acquisitions within the Sailor line. I have a Platinum fountain pen as well. And of course, all of them, like, I guess it's just something amongst Japanese fountain pens. You're going to be using a proprietary converter, and you're going to have to purchase that. So that would be something that I somewhat dislike. The second thing for me, as far as disliking, is the black resin. You know, one thing, I got it because of the price point, but it definitely shows up fingerprints like nobody's business. And, you know, I find myself constantly taking one of my polishing cloths and just polishing it to death. I know that there, you know, may be an option for me to put maybe my Renaissance wax on it at some point when I clean it and kind of polish it up really good. And a good thing about that is it may alleviate some of the fingerprints that drives me nuts. Now, that may be very minimal to some of you. You're thinking, well, this is a pen, but to me, when I'm looking at my pen, especially under certain lighting like this LED lighting, it drives me a little bit bonkers. But with that being said, to me, I'm just trying to nitpick the pen at this point. I didn't really buy this pen for the outward appearance of it. To me, nothing about this pen just really just blows me away. It's kind of like most Japanese fountain pens. My Sailor Pro Gear is the most beautiful thing about it is the nib. My Custom 823, I love the fact that it's a demonstrator, but the most beautiful thing about it is the nib. And this pen is no exception. The nib performs. If this is a pen that you're interested in or thinking about getting, I would not hesitate one bit. At some point, I am going to purchase probably one of the demonstrator versions of this as well, just to have. I may even get it in a soft medium, but that is obviously down the road. As far as that goes, guys, that is it for my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know what you guys think. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. You know, I'm going to be doing some more reviews. My next one I'm going to do is probably going to be a vintage pen. I haven't done a vintage one in a while. So I'm looking forward to doing another one of those here pretty soon. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Memorial Day, and I shall see you guys later.